I thought I was a faster reader. I see, it's weird. I thought I would see more New Yorks. I see Rancho Cucamonga, California, so that is a real place. Baltimore is here. I was a faster reader. It's weird. I thought I would see more New Yorks. I see Rancho Cucamonga, California, so that is a real place. Baltimore is here. And it sounds like somebody may not be on mute because I hear an echo. I don't know if that's just me. So if you're not, please mute yourself.
Well, I think everybody's muted. I don't know what that feedback's coming from.
Okay, that was me. Hey, Sandra from Bronx. I lived in the Bronx for a long time. And I see, Riverside, Riverdale. I think that's Maryland. And thank you for representing the Native American tribes. I think that's a Koki. I mispronounced that really badly. Tribe. And then I see Brenda from Long Island. Oh, and somebody from the UK. So I always get really excited when people from the UK join, and I don't know why. And then Diana from Augsburg, Germany. So we are officially international.
We have someone else from London who's on here too. I saw that fly by in the chat.
Yes, like the chats are like, I see another DC. So yeah, I love playing this game. And Jerry, let me know when you want me to stop, so I can stop. Oh, we have 2 people from the UK. We also have Miranda from London. London represented. I've only been to London a couple times, and the second time I watched Black Panther was in Brixton. I went to watch Black Panther and go to Three Little Birds. It was a Caribbean restaurant, which is also in Brixton.
Just sending an email to people if they want to join on. All right.
I am greeting the YouTube community.
Great, thank you.
Got it. Hi, Sarah.
Oh yeah, and we have like 2 people from the Netherlands. That is great. Sarah and Noreen. Oh.
My gosh.
And for those who just joined, we're doing like the where you from. Just FYI, we've seen people from all the major cities, LA, San Francisco, New York, DC, some smaller cities throughout the country, international, UK, the Netherlands.
Consuela, what's up? She's in Arlington.
And I see, yes, I saw that. I see Sophia from Houston.
I'm in Richmond.
Yes. I love Detroit. And B Sturgill representing DC. Yay! I'm not quite sure what the dolphin means, but I think that's a sports reference. So that could be why I don't get it.
All right.
And Jerry, you will need to go to YouTube and make Brittany a mod.
Yeah, DC is definitely represented, which is very exciting. So,
done.
Thank you.
Okay, are we good to get started?
Yes, we have one person who is still on joining in the waiting room. I think they're having a connection issue.
Okay.
Admit.
So just let me know when we're ready to start.
I think we can join. We can like admit people as we get started.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Hi, everyone. So welcome to the second live book chat for the OEB Slow Read. I'm going to share, we are recording just so that you know. And also this will be going live on YouTube. It will be recorded and it'll be uploaded as a video that can be accessed later on. So just be aware of that. If you don't want to be your face to be recorded or your background to be recorded, do what you've got to do. And you can always turn off your video, although we would love to see your faces because there are many of you. Just going to share the screen and take you through the presentation so we know what's actually happening. So can you guys all, can you see this? Oops, let me just go back to the beginning, one sec.
And yes, we can all see it.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I thought I said that.
I'm sorry, I nodded like a whole genius.
I was like, oh, that was in my head.
I'll be overstimulated for about 90 more seconds and then I'll come back to myself. It'll be fine. Just going to the first slide so we can actually start. Okay. Okay, so you can see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so here we are, the Octavia E. Butler Slow Read. This is our second live book chat. We have a special guest, which we're very excited to talk about and to get into. But I just wanted to start by introducing ourselves. So my name is Injeri, and I am one of the three hosts. In the book community, I have a YouTube channel called Onyx Pages where I read Black science fiction and fantasy. And I love what I do. I love Octavia Butler, and I love talking about Octavia Butler's work. So who wants to go next?
Isis, you go.
Okay, great. Hi, I am Isis Asare, avid fantasy and science fiction and Afrofuturism fan. Connected with Injeri through her work with Solar Power Afrofuturism Slow Reading Book Club. I guess it's like a year and a half ago, or 2 years or something like that. And I'm also the founder of Sister Sci-Fi, which is an online book boutique focused on science fiction and fantasy written by Black women, and very, very, very excited about this event today. So Tati, on to you.
I am Tatiana. What am I? I have a YouTube channel called Musical Tati where I read a little bit of everything. I am a lover of Octavia Butler, and I am exceptionally excited and grateful to Injeri. I'm probably going to say this at every live discussion that we have, but I'm exceptionally excited and appreciative of Injeri for this wonderful brainchild that she had of getting all of us to get together to read Octavia Butler's work and get to talk. So yeah.
So welcome, we're here. All right. Tati, are you good with reading the dedication on the screen?
Sure.
Okay.
You wrote for freedom, yours and ours. We honor this when we read slowly, luxuriously, and collectively, exactly as you had imagined. We are your legacy.
And Isis, can you take us through the agenda?
Yes. So I will take you through the agenda, just FYI, I'm kind of reading it off my screen. So we'll do the welcome. We'll do the dedication, which was just completed. And Jerry will walk us through the group agreement. So we just want to make sure that our conversations are respectful to ourselves and each other. Then we will talk about the book. So what do we think about Wild Seed? And then we'll have breakout rooms so we can discuss it in smaller groups so everybody can feel like their group is heard. The next part will be group engagement. That will be a performance by one of my favorite musical performers, B. Stedwell. Then we'll have a sound circle, and then as the youngins like to say, if it's not on Instagram, it didn't happen. So we'll have group selfies. Then we'll have the Kindred survey winner and announcements. This will continue. This slow reading will continue for some time. So there'll be announcements related to that. I'm done.
Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm going to take us through the group agreement. We're here because we appreciate, love, want to get to know the work of Octavia E. Butler, and as spoken by Lauren Olamina in Parable Store, all that you touch, you change, all that you change, changes you. And in coming together today, we're going to be touching each other. We're going to be engaging with our experiences of Wild Seed. Inevitably, we're going to be talking about ourselves, our experiences. We'll be engaging with the experiences of other people. And so in order to do that in such a large group in a virtual environment, we need to have some agreements. So we're offering these 4 agreements to you as a group. And I would ask that you reflect on them and think about whether or not you can honor these agreements. And if you can, then that's great. Please stay. If you are unable to honor these agreements, then we invite you to leave. So the first is center Black, Indigenous, people of color voices. The voices of Black, Indigenous people and people of color will be centered in this space. Our voices are centered in Octavia E. Butler's work. And in this historical moment, it's important for Own Voices discussions about this work. If you are BIPOC, you're welcome to participate, obviously, and to be here, but please be very mindful about how it is that you take up space in not only the chat, but also in the breakout discussions. Second, please speak mindfully. Some of us are a lot of the feedback that we got is that some people are very comfortable talking in groups. Some people are new to this platform and others are just not comfortable. So they might be participating through the chats, or they might not be in a position to use the spoken voice to speak. So be mindful about that and share space in a way that encourages more engagement rather than takes away from it. The third is that hatred will not be tolerated. So propagators of racism, transphobia, and any other forms of hatred will be removed, no questions asked. And finally, please share responsibly. We're talking about recording or taking photographs or screenshots and so on. We do encourage you to get excited about the slow read and use the different social media platforms that you're on to share your excitement. But if you want to take a photograph or record somebody speaking, just use the chat function to ask their permission. Do not record other people's stories and broadcast them, because we're hoping that this space is safe enough that folks can be a little bit vulnerable. So please treat the sharing of those stories as sacred. So I'm hoping that we can all agree to that. And if you're unable to agree to one or more of these, then I would ask you to make your way out in as graceful a manner as you possibly can. A couple of quick things before we begin. We will be taking a book selfie. So if you're comfortable with your photograph being taken, make sure you've got your book or your Kindle or whatever you read Wild Seed on, because we'll be taking a selfie. Make sure to flag any short excerpts that you want to read during the sound circle. Also, we're operating under the assumption that everyone has read and finished Wild Seed, or they are comfortable with Wild Seed being discussed in its entirety. So there will be spoilers. Know this, embrace it. And then finally, if you notice something wrong happening, whether it's on the chat or in the breakout groups or on the YouTube chat or anywhere, please let one of the hosts know, and we'll do whatever we can to correct it and to get rid of the issue. So if you notice something, say something to one of us. Okay, and with that, what we did get some feedback that folks wanted to just get a bit of a synopsis before we went into the feedback from the book that we read. So Wild Seed is the first book in chronological order in the Patterness series. And the Patterness series is a group of science fiction novels that details a secret history continuing from the ancient Egyptian period to the far future that involves telepathic mind control and extraterrestrial plague. There is a publication order that's kind of out of the chronological order. We, in the slow read, we are reading it in the order, in the chronological order. So the first book in that order is Wild Seed, followed by Mind of My Mind, Clay's Ark, Survivor, and Pattern Master. We do have Survivor on our reading list, even though it's out of print. There are some copies floating around. So just so that you know, we will be finding a way to discuss that, even though it might not be available to everyone. So this is the first book in the Patterness series. And so what was Wild Seed about? In very high level detail, we've got our friend, Doro. Doro is an entity who changes bodies like clothes, killing his hosts by reflex or design. He fears no one until he meets Anyanwu. Anyanwu is a shapeshifter who can absorb bullets and heal with a kiss, and savage anyone who threatens those she loves. She fears no one until she meets Doro. From African jungles to the colonies of America, Doro and Anyanwu weave together a pattern of destiny that not even immortals can imagine. And with that, the three of us are going to go into our feedback, our discussion about Wild Seed. So Tati or Isis, which one of you wants to go first?
Tati, you can go first.
Okay. Wild Seed was a very interesting read for me. This was my second time reading it, and I feel about it as I felt the first time that I read it. Anyanwu is not the character that I wanted to receive from the illustrious and beautiful pen of Octavia Butler. At the point when I read this, I had already read quite a few of her novels that featured these strong Black women who were taking steps out and making their own place in whatever situation they were dealing with and building themselves up as well as the community around them, and having in their mind what was acceptable and what wasn't, and things that they would not been doing. And I got to Anyan when I was like, this is not Lauren, this is not Lilith. And I felt I was very not disappointed in the book, but very disappointed in Anyanwu. For those of you who were with us on our last discussion, it is well known that I freaking hate Doro. And it's stating that I hate Doro, I do understand somewhat, and I still don't accept it, but I understand somewhat the difference between the two that Octavia Butler is creating for us in this world, and how this community of or race of people, this line of people that will be their progenies in the later books, are going to be like. I guess I appreciate it, but there are things about the relationships between the two that it's a different kind of slavery in my mind. The way that Doro takes over and demands his following, or that people follow him. And if you don't follow me, it's like, I have to follow him. Otherwise, he's going to take my body. He's just going to like eat my whole soul and take my body. And it's nothing that I can do about it to stop it. So if I want to live at least a little while longer, because it could still happen. I mean, he doesn't need me anymore. So he can just jump on in at any point. Yeah, I can't stand that man. But I thoroughly enjoyed my read and my reread of Wild Seed, and really appreciate what Octavia Butler did to show a different kind of relationship. I'm making peace with the person that Anyanwu is in this story, and all the things that are surrounded in that. But yeah, that's my take. Next.
And Jerry, do you want to go next or should I? It's your call.
I'm happy to go next. Okay, let me do this thing. Okay, so this felt like my first reading of Wild Seed because I read it a long time ago and I was a different woman then. So it felt like the first time reading it for me. And I have to say, I echo the things that you said, Tati, about Anyanwu being very different from the female protagonist that we are used to seeing on Octavia E. Butler's work. There were many times when I thought, are you kidding me? Why is she capitulating? Why is she allowing this to happen? She's so powerful, like, come on. And so I found myself doing that a lot, and not like, and hating Doro as well. But then I remembered that, Octavia Butler encouraged readers to look beyond the surface and to ask why, right? Like, why did we need these characters? What did they allow us? What did they allow us to see, right? So I spent a lot of time thinking about why do we need Doro, right? Like Yasmin says, Doro is constructed to be hated. Yes, Doro is constructed to be hated. And what's the function of a character like Doro in this particular moment, right? So I don't have an answer to that, but I know that Doro as a character made me feel things, and so did Anyanwu. I was mesmerized by Anyanwu's power. I was mesmerized at her truest form. She's a dark-skinned 20-year-old African woman, and that was very powerful for me. And I wrote 3 things down because I thought I'd be overstimulated, and I was right. So here are the 3 things. So one thing that I'm thinking about is the question, when is Doro most vulnerable? And what do we make of that, right? What do we make from those moments? So in my reading, Doro is most vulnerable when he's not feared. So fear is very important to his ability to establish power. He is most vulnerable when, in particular to Anyanwu, when Black women stand in their power. He is most vulnerable when Anyanwu is wild. And he is most vulnerable when he's faced with the potential of losing his seed, and his not being able to control. So that was one set of thoughts I had. And then I also was troubled, and I want to talk about this in the breakout groups if other people are interested in it. I'm troubled by the fact that we actually don't get to see Anyanwu's most powerful moments because they happen in the years of time that span between books. So for example, we learn that she spent all of this time in her animal form doing these great things, including giving birth to dolphin babies, but we don't actually get to see that in the actual prose. We just know that it once happened. We know that she's able to establish an alternative to Doro's seed villages that seems to work, in which people are empowered and they choose to stay, but we don't actually get to read how she went about creating that in order to understand how her tactics were different from Doro's. And we also don't get a lot of Anyanwu's development as a person. We just see her beginning and sort of in the end. And I'm curious about that because in other of Octavia E. Butler's works, we actually see the development of the Black woman main character. And here we miss what seemed to me to be really important pivotal moments in her arc. And then finally, I'm left haunted by the way that her power manifests. So shape-shifting is a concept I'm really interested in because I think that there are mundane equivalents to shape-shifting, like code switching. There are lots of ways that Black women have to shape-shift in order to survive, in order to use our power in this particular historical moment. So that left its imprint on me. Also, I'm very moved by Anyanwu as healer, and healer being her power. Not only is she an excellent healer, but the way that she heals is by knowing toxins, by understanding and breaking down poisons to their basic components, and then finding ways to shift and heal. And also for Anyanwu, healing an impulse, I think. And perhaps the impulse to heal is the answer to Doro's impulse to kill. But the fact that she's driven to it and sometimes can't help herself from healing reminds me of other characters in other books that are similar. So in outside of the Octavia E. Butler writing, like if you've read Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, the notion of being a harmonizer, right? As not only a skill, a near superpower, but also as a compulsion. That's also was really interesting to me. And I think we're kind of asked whether Anyanwu should heal Doro, whether she can, and I'm not. And for me, I think she has a lot of better things to do with her strength and her power. But we'll see what happens as the stories continue. So those were my thoughts about Wild Seed, or the beginning of so much to say. Isis?
Yeah, so Tati and Jerry, so I always appreciate like your insights on the books that you're reading. And Jerry, that's literally how I found you. For me, for Wild Seed, I think two things resonated the most with me is like that opening scene where Doro is traveling through Africa when he finds Anyanwu and he's devastated by the loss of his village. It's not an emotional devastation, but more like he promised that he would keep them safe and he was unable to keep that promise. I know I take the very unpopular opinion of being a Doro sympathizer. I realize that he's a jerk and does several heinous actions. I was talking to a friend earlier about this mindset. It's not something I'm going to die on the hill on, but I think of him very parallel to the character Niklaus in Vampire Diaries, the originals. It's a trash show, but we all have our guilty exceptions, where a lot of it was bred from trauma that from rejection from a father figure when they were young, a sense of loneliness, and I parallel Duro's desire to build a master race and trying to create a family, which being around for almost a millennia became a very dangerous obsession and goal. But he had no frameworks to deal with it in a healthy way. He wasn't going to therapy. But that's me. And then when we're introduced to Anyanwu, to me, it was just like you have this super powerful woman who doesn't age, who can heal, who has to hide out at the end of a village just due to lack of understanding. And to me, it was just like, that is almost how Black women continue to move in society today. They're super powerful, but sometimes we feel like just because of ignorance or lack of understanding, we have to take our gifts and hide them under a bush, and how she navigates that throughout the whole story. So I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed the creativity. I enjoyed anyone as a shapeshifter, and also like that thought of what is motherhood for a woman who can outlast and outlive all her children and all her family. And I liked her experiences in different life forms, her experience of living as a dolphin, and how she connects differently to her emotions and feelings. One thing I wanted to talk a lot about is that, as many of us know, Wild Seed is under production. So I have a couple slides on that, which I can go through super quickly. So I'm about to share my screen. And Jerry, that aligns with the schedule, right? Let me know if I'm going off task. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It's not a newsflash anymore, but as we know, Wild Seed is in production. Viola Davis, Juve Production Studios is heading it. So a little bit more about Juve. They've entered a first look deal with Amazon Studios. So hopefully this continues a trend of amazing Black literature coming to production with Amazon Studios. Also, writing cred. So, Nettie Okorafor, who did, as and Jerry mentioned earlier, she mentioned the Vinci trilogy and the Carter Ridge trilogy and several other works, is co-writing with Ronri Caillou, who did 2 films who I absolutely love, Rafiki, which is actually a lesbian feature-length film, which has screened at Sundance. If you have not seen Rafiki, stop everything you're doing in life, watch that this afternoon. She also did the sci-fi short film Clumsy, which is brilliant. It's available on YouTube. Both writers, filmmakers identify as Afrofuturism, and one quote that I found that I love is, "We love Octavia Butler and her work for decades, but Wild Seed is our favorite. It's expansive, it's disturbing, it's unique." So they should bring the true story of Wild Seed to the small screen. So when I read that, I thought it'd be cool if we played Wild Seed Dreamcast. So I will drop this survey into the chat. Let's see if this will be seamless.
Your mic on your other laptop is on, Isis. So one of them has to be muted.
Okay, that's the feedback. I was like, what just happened?
Yep, it's in the chat.
So everybody should have the survey, so you can take that now, and then we'll see results in real time. So right now, when I look at so this is the question that everybody should have. So if you answer that, are we answering them? And there's only 2 questions, so it should take 5 seconds to do. If folks can Tati or Jerry, can you see the chat to like if people can say that they've responded to it, so then I can flip to the results. And the chat just put responded.
Okay, hold on.
Is it working? Okay, I see the response. Okay, I do still see it. Okay, cool. All right.
I don't know who I want. This I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, don't fault me. Like I was like, these are people who I wanted. There is another. If you're like, Isis is crazy, in terms of her picks.
Just refresh your browser and see if you get some results, Isis.
Oh yeah, well, I just need to click to this other. It's just here we go. All right. And the survey says, so there were some others. So if you voted others, drop in the chat who you would have. But Dari Guerrera, I mispronounced that. Her name is
Deny.
Huh?
Deny.
Who plays Michonne on The Walking Dead, who I voted for. So there seems to be a consensus there. I think for me, she as an actress resonates with the strength and the complexity that character would cause. So hopefully the casting gods are hearing us and align with that. So Duro. Oh yeah, I wonder if this is an order thing.
Who are these people?
Yeah, I was like, so Yaha Abu Mateen, he actually, I don't know who watched The Watchmen. He played Mr. Manhattan, and it was because of that. And he's also been included in some Black Mirror episodes, the one where the 2 friends connect in a video game. So he has the sci-fi chops. I think he was brilliant as Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen. Yeah, and McCabe looked like his also Mateen would be great. I think he would bring that complexity. He brings that source of power that I think Dora would play, and I think he would be able to play that jerk and take that wrath of the watcher / reader as Wild Seed comes to the small screen. Jay Ellis is the boyfriend in Insecure. Wale Parks again, I'm showing how much of a Vampire Diaries fangirl I am. He played Conde, who was the creator of Sirens and Almost Like the Devil in Vampire Diaries. And that's why I picked him. So yeah, I think again a very complex villain that he played in Vampire Diaries, and I think that same complexity would transfer well to playing Duro. So, but it seems like we have, if we were doing the casting, at least we'd have our leads casted for the show. Thanks for playing.
All right. Are we good?
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let me.
I'm glad y'all had fun. I was like, this will either be really fun or super cheesy. So I'm glad at least one other person had fun.
No.
Oh my
No,
God,
that was good.
good. Yeah.
Okay, let me just grab where we're at now. All right. So now we're going to be going into the breakout rooms. And this is an opportunity for you to chat with others about Wild Seed. We do have some suggestions for questions that you can ask. The hosts will have it on the PowerPoint. So there are prompts. Just a reminder, be mindful of the space that you take up in the discussions. And last time we got feedback that we abandoned the YouTube peoples. So here's what's going to happen for the individuals who are in my group. We're going to automatically split up into 3 breakout rooms, one with Tati, one with Isis, one with me. Will be your facilitators for the discussion for about 40 minutes. If you end up in my group, we are going to wait till everybody gets into my group, and then we're all going to go back into the main room because that's the room that's transmitting to YouTube. That way, the people who are chatting on YouTube will continue to be able to participate in the discussion. And we've got the amazing Brittany from Melon and Eclectic, who's a booktuber and business owner extraordinaire, who is going to be working she's a moderator on the YouTube chat. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. So just bear with us as we split everybody into groups. Hopefully this will be automatic and quick. Famous last words. Okay.
It'll work.
It's going to work. It's going to work.
It's gonna work.
It's going to work. Yeah, it's going to work just like that. You should get an invitation to go into another room, and you should take it. Okay, so it looks like people are moving over. I just need to make sure. Hi, YouTube people. I'm just going to make sure that the guests are in different rooms. Sorry, that Tatiana. Okay, I'm going to move Tatiana to Breakout 2. Okay, so she's in 3. Isis. Is in 1. I'll go to 2. All right, here we are. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your patience. I'm hoping that the people on YouTube, let me just make sure that they can see us. Just one sec. Okay. We're gonna move. This is gonna be smooth one day. All right. All right. So does anybody have any, just without guiding the discussion, is there anything you need to get off your chest about Wild Seed before we go into any specific questions? Please make sure that you just say where you're from, your name and where you're from to the extent that you're comfortable doing so. And we'll just start chatting. Okay, maybe how did you feel reading this story? Did you like your feelings? Were they good feelings while you read Wild Seed? Oh, you guys can't unmute? Oh, try now.
Okay, I'm
Can you?
unmuted.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was very true.
Entiendo with the book.
I thought it was silence.
Sorry, Sarah?
I just said, can I start?
Yes, please.
My name is Sarah. I'm from the Netherlands. Excuse my English. And I think about the book, the thing that I wanted to say was, it wasn't what I expected. This book did things that I didn't expect an Octavia Butler book would do. And the main character, Anyawu, she was a different kind of character to me, to what I read usually.
And when you said that she did, that the character did things that you didn't expect a character in Octavia Butler's work to do, what do you mean? So what were some of the things that Anyanwu did that surprised you? I don't think you're alone in that thought.
I think that while I wanted her to be forgiving and a good person, she went beyond that. And there's a part where you start enabling bad behavior. And I think she stayed for me in that gray place, in that gray zone where I didn't know if she was good or bad or evil. It's not that binary, but if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Others?
Hi, it's Orange. So for me, this was my favorite book, completely. Anyanu, I made other people read it because I said, Octavia Butler, this is me. And they wrote this book. She wrote this book specifically for me. But the one thing I noticed is that, but Octavia Butler's books always captures me. But the one thing about this, the first time I read it, I was finished reading it on an airplane. I forgot what country I was on my way to. And I was sitting next to a couple and I was so happy. It was early in the morning. They fell asleep because I'm trying to finish reading the book and tears are just streaming down my face when she was shutting her body down, and because she's so powerful. And yes, Doro, he's bad. But I don't hate him like everyone else because I understood this place where Yanu was. And Jero reminds me of a lot of brothers in this society where, everything's been, so many things has been taken from them just through over time that they somehow become bad. And it shows you the connection of the true nurturing of, brown women or Afrocentric women, that we're always there. And no matter what, no matter how bad people are, even when you think about family that have children got on drugs and stuff like that, how the mother is still just so loving. And but I don't know, this is like my favorite book, so I am just the shape shifting. Oh my God, I just can't even. I just like tell everyone. I tell you, that's me. That's why I travel so much, because I tell people, I said, I'm really a shapeshifter. No way I could do it in this reality is, getting on a plane. But that's it.
Thank you. Tachian Simpson, you raised your hand.
Tashawn, hi.
Tashawn, sorry.
No problem. It's common. I'm in Atlanta, and I actually used this and Kindred along with a couple of other books for my thesis when I was to get my degree, and I had a bit of a different take about Doro and Anyanwu than what the prior discussion was, in that they were opposite sides of the same coin. I mean, Anyanwu was in a lifelong experience of all the people that she was around were family. I mean, they didn't know because she was so much older than them, but for her to live to the way Doro did, and to just totally be in her power, would have been to harm essentially her her children, her offspring, even though they were several generations removed, whereas Doro had connections to no one. I mean, he killed his parents in kind of the coming of age, or the transition of his adolescence into his power, and that was the last time that he was out of control, was when killing his mom and his dad. And so, whereas she was surrounded by people who their life and their well-being was everything to her, he had lost everything that meant to him, anything to him. And so she had to be humble in her walk in her life, because not being that way meant that she would have to harm the people that that meant everything to her. Because anytime they knew that something was going on with her, they would come and try to do something to her, and she would have to protect herself and therefore harm these people. So she had to be very humble and very in control in a contained way, whereas Doro kind of exerted it out in, like, I'm going to control by fear and all these other things. She did it by controlling herself versus trying to control other people. And I think she had compassion for him because she understood his pain, because they both had to see people die their whole lives and not ever have, and she wanted that same thing, to have somebody that she could love forever like him. But that's what I saw in his journey, was his desire to not have to be able to love someone without fear.
Wow, to be able to love someone without fear, I feel like that is an important place to pause. With that said, though, one way that I've heard Doro described as a character was as a trauma survivor. But if you think about somebody who's experienced trauma, and then you allow that person to be immortal, right? What does it look? We know what it could look like for somebody to live with trauma for 80 years, right? And what that might do to how they treat other people. But what if it's millennia, right? So, and what does that mean for Anyanwu, who's a healer, whose strength and ability it is to identify harm and then figure out a way to correct it, right? So I don't know what just happened there, but that's my thought. And I know you had your hand up, Nakia.
Yeah, thank you. That was so beautiful. It's so nice to hear everyone's thoughts so far. By the way, zooming in from Oakland. So yeah, I just building off of what you have each said. I mean, for me, Doro feels like, just like what you were saying, like the spirit of trauma, or like the spirit of intergenerational trauma, while Anyanwu would be that other half, like the embodiment of healing over time. And I guess did I like the way I felt reading this book? I felt so upset. And have also read it like 4 times. I love this book. And I don't remember where I heard this, if it was another book group or if this was something that I read, just about somebody saying that part of why Octavia wrote Kindred was for Black folks to be able to empathize with their ancestors who had been enslaved. And there's that whole attitude of like, I wouldn't let anybody do this to me, da da da, and just giving creating this experience of what it would mean to be ripped from your present back into that past. And I kind of have similar feelings in like Wild Seed, and the ways that Anyanwu doesn't, I don't know, I feel like her strength is not the kind of shallow, like faux feminist strength that feels so popular and is so hashtagable these days, where like she is in a position where she is severely compromised, where he has this power or this leverage over her that she can't do anything about besides mitigate the best that she can. And so for me, like it seems like there is a way where she loves him, and it's disgusting to me. And at the same time, it seems like that's like she has the choice to just hate him or to hate him and love him at the same time. And like she chooses the thing that is most in keeping with her nature, which is to love and to heal. And to me, that is beautiful. The other thing is, it seems like Anyanwu made as her purpose to, as best she could, protect her descendants from Doro, and she like stays in the long defeat until that is secured. And for me, that also is beautiful and speaks to the duality of their nature, or like the oneness of them. That's it.
Thank you for that. I want to fold into this conversation the chat from YouTube. So we have 30 people watching on YouTube right now. Pensacola, California, what up, people? And Jersey. Okay, so Leslie says that shapeshifting as a metaphor for modern Black life. The impetus to heal, the compulsion to heal is part of our DNA. The Uber witch, the enduring warrior. And Anyanwu, Christina from Brazil, I think, says, Anyanwu shutting her body down gave me so much anxiety. I could feel her tiredness. That scene where Anyanwu was like, I'm tired, I am exhausted, I am done. I felt that all over the place. This story made me think about the ethics of immortality. Isaac is one of my favorite characters. Immortality would be disastrous. Rena Golden says, I think her freedom was bound in her love. Doro didn't understand this kind of love or freedom. She was a radical lover. And I know that a couple of you in this particular chat do a lot of reading around radical love and you know, sort of like ethical non-monogamy and alternative love structures and stuff. So I think that's a theme that has come up too. And then Rel says, I don't think Doro understood love at all. Then Doro surrounding himself with worshipers only exacerbated his lack of respect toward humanity. So just wanted to fold the YouTube chat in a bit. And I think that we had a couple more hands up here before. So Consuela, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. So there's so much about Miss Butler's work, this one in particular, that I could go on and on about, so I'm gonna try to stay focused. But just to talk about, you know, touch on some of the comments that other people have made. It's interesting that these two are essentially what we would term gods, right? And I love that she was very careful not to call them that, really, and that they didn't even see themselves as gods. even though I would say Doro sort of really acted in it. But I know I hear a lot of people saying about Anwanyu and her, the way she is depicted in this work. And I felt like, you know, the fact that she is essentially a god shows her power and her strength. And so I felt like this was a love story to Black women, I feel, because I feel that Black women often have to play both sides of the fence and yet still be true to their nature. And how do you do that? How do you keep from emasculating the men in your life, but still go about being yourself and doing what you need to do to get things done? And I think there's a beautiful conflict in showing, in us seeing some of Anwanyu's human, I guess we would call it flaws, I suppose. But then in that, I also feel like that makes her even more rich, because again, you have someone who's supposed to be able to basically do everything and be everything, and yet they're still struggling with their day-to-day lives and themselves internally. I mean, especially at the end of the story when she kept saying, I think she used the word quarrel. She said, my quarrel will no longer be with you, when she was talking to Doro. She's like, it's going to be with me and myself. I'm going to have to figure out how to live with this. And I feel like, and again, this might just because we're living in this age, I feel like that's what a lot of Black women have to do. I feel like we're strong and we're capable and we're powerful in our own way, but then we also still need to play the game to make it through with some of us intact. So I know some of you guys feel like, oh, well, she allowed him by going with Isaac and not, pushing more towards her power, challenging him more directly. I think that was her way of marrying two things, because especially at the end of the book, she talks, Amanyu says, I believed everything you said. I believed in you. And then when I realized that wasn't going to happen, she basically said, I had to figure out how was I going to navigate in that space. And it wasn't until I realized that you were going to kill me that I decided I had to leave. Otherwise, she would have continued to try to work with him and move something forward. So, I mean, I just think there's something really beautiful and rich, and not only Black women. I feel like, and again, this is only my second Octavia Butler book. The first one I read was Kindred. Also, I used it for my thesis. I think someone else. But I feel like, and again, I'm 100% certain, I feel like that people who would read this work can relate to it on many different levels. Yes, this is about Black empowerment and Black stories, but Octavia Butler is one of those writers that I feel should be in a literary canon. Like this is classic literature to me. The way she navigates. Sorry, I'm getting off topic really quick.
Fine.
The way she plays with plot structure and things of that nature. I would argue that Doro is the protagonist and Amanyu is the antagonist, because the protagonist moves the story along, pushes, sorry, said that backwards. Yes, the protagonist basically pushes the story on. And if you realize every time Amanyu had I'm going to call it rest, because I was exhausted by the end of the book too, Doro was not around, or she wasn't focused on how he might affect her lives and keeping her moving and pushing along. So, I mean, there's a difference between protagonists and antagonists, and then main character and supporting character. And for a writer to be able to play in that space and do it effortlessly, I mean, it's beautiful. And then as a science fiction writer, mind blown. Thank you.
I want to pick up on two themes. One, I think one that I want to talk about is gender, because one thing, and I don't know where Octavia Butler admits this, but she does. She does somewhere have a conversation with somebody where she says, she didn't deal with gender good enough really in her books, right? And I think that in this story, there are so many opportunities to problematize the gender binary. There's so many important questions here about, like, you know, the essence of gender. What in some of the synopses, depending on which version you have, describe Anyanwu as the essence of woman, and Doro as the essence of man, and that this is the ultimate, you know, women and men, the purest essence of them trying to come together and getting into conflict. And so for me, you know, I'm reading this in 2020, reading this from my cisgender perspective, but also reading this as somebody who is trying to work on undoing what I've learned about, like, you know, the gender binary as normal, right? I think that there are a lot of opportunities to talk about and to problematize the way that gender plays out here, right, in this particular story. So I'm wondering about whether that was something that came up for anyone as you were reading. There are lots of moments where, you know, Anyanwu, you know, talks to Doro, who references times when Doro, you know, took a woman's body, right? And even in terms of pronouns, when Anyanwu appears in a male body, the she pronouns are still used for her consistently throughout, right? And there are moments, I think that there's a moment where, is it Denise or something, where Anyanwu takes on a female woman lover or wife. I think there's a moment that's at the very least it's gray, but it could be, I mean, certainly a queered relationship. And we just kind of, that just kind of happens and we just sort of move on. Yes, so yes, she marries a woman, right? And as a woman married to a woman, you know, I found that fascinating. And, you know, I wanted to sort of think about that. So wondering how you feel she took up themes of gender and what this story has to say about toxic masculinity, what it has to say about gender expectations, the essential gender, the essential sex. So thoughts about that from someone who hasn't spoken as yet. Go ahead, Ariana.
Okay, great. You know, I mean, there was so much about gender that I felt like was wrapped up in this book in so very, very, very many ways. You know, and I'll just speak to just one part that she said really specifically, where she was kind of chastising Doro for neither being a parent to his offspring nor allowing any of the men he wanted to breed to be fathers to their offspring, and relating it back to not only, like, you know, Doro's incapacity to actually deeply care about his children or his progeny, you know, and also paralleling that to slavery and what happened when, you know, Black men were used as, you know, as breeding stock or whatnot, but not allowed to be present for raising their families, you know, and she was really protective of, you know, of any of her people that she was raising or she had adopted into her kind of family structure, that she didn't want that to happen to them, you know, and that she was willing to say, like, okay, yeah, you can, like, sure, bring them a person, and if they like each other, great, they can marry, but don't do this thing where you trot them around to give birth to children that they don't care for and stay present with, because that is doing an active harm to them in their humanity and in their development, and making dogs of them in some kind of way, you know, and that part of gender, you know, like the relationship to your offspring, I felt like was something that, like, came up again and again, you know, and one that she tussled with Isaac about, you know, because, you know, she loved Isaac so deeply, and he just did not think of any kids he fathered that he wasn't around to raise as his kids, you know, but he was at least bound to her and raising some kids. So, you know, like, so he was in a different caregiving relationship, you know, and so I think that she was really making it explicit, like, yeah, this is actually optional. Like, what you're doing is optional. The consequences of it happening is optional. It doesn't actually have to be this way. And like, and there was this big contrast, right, between the people she was raising and the people he was raising. And he would continue to bring to her, like not just bring to her, but like also create or whatever, these broken people, mostly men who were violent in different kinds of ways, and like, I think that there was this question of like, yes, they have been denied the opportunity to receive nurturing, and they have been not denied the opportunity to give nurturing, which humanizes people, which increases their sensitivity, which increases their attunement and their caring nature. And and I thought it was powerful to have her make that as explicit as she did, but also powerful to have her tie that back to slavery and and what that legacy of slavery may have done to our people in so many ways. Speaking as a a Black American woman, and I feel curious about the legacy of that, that aspect of gender in our society, at present, as we have all sorts of parallels for that, right? Like not just slavery, but incarceration and, war and, all sorts of things that take, predominantly, male populations away from their offspring and doesn't offer the opportunity for people opportunity for nurturance. Like there were themes that were about like subjugation of, like, I feel like the whole book was something to do with the subjugation of this incredibly powerful woman by this like, incredibly powerful man, in this like authoritative, like, you can do anything you want as long as you obey me. I will have the largesse not to kill you as long as you obey me, right? And that conceit that he had that he just could not break out of, like we can look at that as a gendered thing, or we can look at it like, the man has some personal issues or whatever, right? But like it felt like it was expressed in such a gendered way, and he couldn't get past himself to see that problem, even when she was going to kill herself and he's like beside himself. He's like undone. He's finally like let her in and she's so important to him. And now he can't live without her, and he's like, what do you need me to do? And she's like, I have told you 87 billion times what you need to do, right? And you can't, like, he couldn't even, remember, right? Like, because he was so caught up in his, I have to control you and you have to obey me and I have to do these things and I have to kill when I want to, in addition to when I have to. And, and there was something gendered in that's hard to kind of put my finger on it and tease apart, but it felt very like, like absolutely like some, caricature to some degree of toxic masculinity, right? And domination and control, and that feeling like she's in this, abusive relationship that she got trapped into and then can't free herself from except by dying, and I'm just like, that's just deep.
I want to just note that in the YouTube chat, Monica Lovely Bookshelf says, just speaking as a non-binary person, I felt uncomfortable by the hints of gender essentialism, but also know it was written quite some time ago. That being said, the freedom Anyanwu felt in dolphin form was especially powerful. The binary gender roles weren't so vivid. There was just this feeling of being free. Okay, so we have, thank you for that, Monica. So we have 6 minutes and 36 seconds before we get joined by 100 other people. So while we are here together, I just want to talk about like the fun parts, the sexy parts, the cute parts, the humorous parts. Were there moments where you were just like, oh my gosh, that's so adorable, or yes, the whole story is going to shit, but this moment is amazing? Like, were there moments of fun, joy, lightness for you that you would like to share? I mean, mine is obviously like the dolphin moments were just incredible. When she goes upstairs and she's like, yeah, I'm done, eagle time, and then she's just gone. Like just the moments that she was free. But others, did you laugh? Did you ever laugh at Dora? Did he ever crack a joke for you?
Well, this is Tishan. I don't want to.
Go ahead.
I don't. Okay. I just wanted to say that it amazed me initially that Doro had been everywhere and Anyanwu had stayed in that same place all of those many hundreds of years. And so it was overwhelming for her to realize what he was, but when in her being opened up to the world and her wonder at the ocean and all these new creatures that she had never encountered, and I mean the dolphin, I love that experience was really exhilarating. So that I really enjoyed, that vicariously of her after all that time being again like a child in the world and not and having her eyes opened up to so many things that she'd never experienced before.
I thought sometimes she was really funny about how she changed, like how quickly she changed and how slowly she changed. When Dora walks into her playing with flippers, the first time, I thought that was kind of hilarious. I'm like, what would I do if I saw somebody with just flippers? Yes, dolphin moments were the only joyous moments that they remember. Okay, any last thoughts in the 4 minutes that we have before we're joined by the rest of the slow read group? So maybe somebody.
I thought that it was really interesting that it didn't take her using her powers to really get Dora to change. It was just like, I've had enough. And it's either you're going to change because I'm going to now not be around anymore, or I'm really not going to be around anymore. And it didn't take magic or anything for him to really change in the end. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And do you think she was being completely just authentic, or do you think she figured him out and was sort of like, this is the only thing that will stop him, so I'm gonna do that?
Yeah, I thought I throughout the reading, I really wanted her to find a way to kill him. And I kept on saying, let me think of a way so that I could tell her how to do it. But I really wanted her to find a way to do it, because I was just like, there's just so much torture that he was given to her. And for 150 years, she was quote unquote free, but she kept on thinking that he's going to find her some way. And, when her daughter came to him and said, she's really going to do it, I was like, well, that seems planted. That seems like she planted that seed there. And is it real? But then the more I kept on reading it, I was like, she can't die. Please don't die. I don't want you to die. Let him die. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was authentic.
Yeah.
I felt it was, I think the reason I felt it was authentic was not only because I really felt like Octavia Butler really, like, I felt her tiredness. Like I said earlier, I was tired of the up and the down and the, like, I literally felt her exhaustion. And I felt like, even in that moment when she was like, I'm okay with leaving this world, but is there something redemptive about me staying here? Are you going to change? And even then, he still was like, I think Ariana said he just couldn't connect to what she had been asking him to do. It took him again another time. So I mean, I really felt that was really authentic, and it was an absolutely beautiful moment.
Sorry.
If
that's you beeping,
I think it might be. Sorry.
Oh, it's actually you? Oh, okay. Go on, keep talking. I was talking to general you. Go ahead.
Sorry, it was me. My bad. Sorry. So I think that was one of the most beautiful points in the book, not only about actually finally be able to see some real vulnerability from Doro, but more from her, the beauty of that moment for her. It was just, I think I started to cry, and not because I mean, for several reasons, obviously her leaving the world. No, don't leave Doro there. But it was just, it was like a swan song type thing. Like it was equally disheartening, equally exhilarating, because I felt like she could finally really rest.
just folding in some of the comments from the YouTube chat, the way the little girl near the end was okay with seeing Anyanwu as a big cat was amazing. I also liked, I think it was Helen, how rude she would sometimes be to Doro, just completely fearless. And I was like, yes, girl, just be rude to him. Yes, he's immortal, but just speak your truth. Is it true that there's going to be a television series based on the works of Octavia Butler? Yes. I think there were certainly flirty moments between them that I found cute. It gave me false hope that she would get through to him like Isaac thought she would. And yes, so that is it. Okay, so we are going to, any last words? I'm gonna close the breakout room, so we will be joined by people. So now might be a nice opportunity to get a drink, get your book for the selfie time. Thanks for the discussion. Maria, French? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I think some people touched on it a little bit, but I found it, I loved the book, but found parts of it really difficult to get to. Like it felt like this burden of this woman who's so powerful, and just like, it feels like we're fighting so much. And if this woman who's so powerful can't manage to find her way out, like what hope do the rest of us have? Like it felt a little discouraging at times of like, I thought she would be able to find a way to beat him. And this feeling of like, if she can't do it, then what hope do I have?
Yeah. Yes. Really very tense questions. I definitely found myself, I saw myself in Anyanwu in different moments of my life, right? Like, do I have the courage to set boundaries? Do I have the courage to, be my essential self right now, and things like that? So moments when she didn't have the courage, I was scared, because I was like, oh my gosh, does that mean I don't? What does that say about me? And oh my gosh, it's Octavia Butler. She has to write somebody who can overcome this. All right, so we're just gonna wait. Thank you very much to the folks in my breakout group. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you to the people on YouTube who participated as well. And thank you to Brittany for moderating the discussion over on YouTube. We'll just wait till everyone else gets in. Yeah, folks are saying they really just wanted Anyanwu to win. We just need her to win. All right. Okay, I'm assuming, so Tati, you're back. Isis, are you back? I can't see everybody.
Sorry, yes.
You're back, okay, good. So if you're back and Isis is back, then all officially back. Let's pull some people in. Okay, so, all right. Just gonna share my screen and tell you what is happening next. There we go. And okay, so we're gonna do something that we didn't do last time, which is a book selfie. And the way that we are going to do this is I'm gonna ask you if you have a physical copy of your book, or if you've got it on a mobile or whatever, if you can grab it, we'd like to take a photograph. We're gonna have to take 4 photographs because there are lots of people in here. But if you could just like hold up the book like this and come really close to the screen, we'll get a great shot, and we'll tell everybody who didn't come that they should have. Look at all these good looking people with their book. Should have been here. All right, so you're gonna have to hold your face for a while because I'm gonna have to go through 4 different screens. If you don't want to be in the picture, like some of you are already doing, just turn your videos off and that's totally fine. Okay, so we're gonna take the first one. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And then screen 2 of 4. You don't even know which picture is going to be yours. It's very exciting. Okay. 2 of 4. And then 3 of 4. And then 4 of 4. Everyone. Okay, so the selfie is done. Oh, wow. Very nimble. Okay. So you can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we did the selfie thing. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna do it.
Wait. Am I too early? Am I too excited?
No, to talk about B?
No,
Yes.
there's no such thing as too excited.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So I get the pleasure of introducing B. Steadwell. I'm sure most of us on the Zoom know them. So B. Steadwell is a musician, filmmaker, storyteller from DC, who currently resides in DC. Her live performances, she utilizes looping, vocal layering, and beatboxing to compose her songs on stage. So it feels super interactive and very rich. B's original music features earnest lyricism and affirming LGBT content, which is amazing. B's goals as a musician is to make other Black girls, queers, introverts, generally marginalized weirdos to feel seen and, more importantly, feel loved. In 2019, B composed the music for Alvin Ailey's dance company's production of The Gone. Later that year, B wrote and directed the musical Letter to My Ex. B's musical tells the stories of love, narrating one character's journey through the year following a breakup. In 2020, B released her newest album, Succulent. And during the pandemic, you can find B on her Patreon channel. If you're not a member of B's Patreon page, please join. I love the amazing surprises that I get randomly in my inbox. And the one thing that B didn't include is they made a short film, Vow of Silence, which I watch a couple times a year just because it makes me happy. So if you haven't watched that, that's you can find it, I think, on YouTube and a platform called Quelly TV. And so I'm done fangirling about B. B Steadwell, I'm sure, is somewhere in this universe, like on one of the squares or something.
Yeah, I pinned B. Okay. So you're just in everybody.
Yay! Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Are they like about equal levels volume-wise?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was the quick sound check. I'm gonna go ahead and play the song that I wrote for about Wild Seed for this event.
Hold on, people.
Okay.
If you are not muted, please
What's up,
mute
Tanya?
yourself.
Let me try.
Tanya's having a party.
Hold on.
Cool. deep, somewhere that you can find me. Don't follow me. You know that I'm finally happy, gonna swim deep, somewhere that you can find me. Don't follow me. Wanna be gonna be okay, that's it. Thanks for listening, y'all. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Oh, everybody mute yourselves. Thank you. Thank you so much, B.
Before,
you want to
can
say
you tell us?
Go on, Isis.
Oh, okay. Like B, did you want to? I like as a reader, I can guess like the part in the scene of the book that inspired that song in particular. But did you want to offer that insight or like the creative process?
Yeah, sure. I finished the book maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and mostly it frustrated me reading it. But what I really loved were the parts where she was a dolphin, and initially I was really frustrated that she didn't get to have dolphin sex and that we didn't get to see it and hear about it. And she did later, I guess. But I was thinking about, I write love songs, and I was thinking about what this love was, and like if I had felt this sort of love in my own way, and thinking about Anyanwu not needing anyone or anything, being so powerful, and Doro also not needing anyone really. But of course you want things, and you want love, and you want connection, and you want somebody who is your equal in some way. And running from this kind of abusive, traumatic love, but also the idea that someone's chasing you and looking for you, like having some kind of wanting that too. I don't know, like it's fucked up and maybe really not good, but when you say don't follow me to someone, it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know, there's an implication that like you're anticipating that following, that chase. And even though I did just want her to become a dolphin and never talk to Doro again, I did identify with the parts that brought them back together, because you know, who else are they going to love or partner with other than each other? But no love for Doro. I am not a sympathizer like Isis. Don't. Yeah.
You're not alone. Thank you so much, B.
Yeah, echo. Thank you.
All right. So what we did last time that we're going to do again, which is the sound circle. Just gonna pull it up for those of you who are unfamiliar with this process. It was actually something that people really enjoyed last time based on the survey. So here we go. Tati, are you good with sort of walking folks through what we're gonna do here?
Yes. What we're going to do is you are going to have an opportunity to share an excerpt. I keep looking down here because that's where the faces have gone. Look here. You're going to have an opportunity to share an excerpt from Wild Seed that you would like to read. And you're going to get to and have an opportunity to listen to others read. The idea is to share a short portion, 3 to 5 sentences of the book that you, or from the book that you enjoyed or that were important or pivotal to you. And then you're going to wait, have a moment of silence between excerpts, and then the next person will read and we will listen some more.
So while you're finding what you'd like to read before we open the sound circle, please go on mute if you are not speaking. There are 82 of us in here, so please go on mute, and B, you are invited, welcome to accompany in whatever way you would like to, and totally participate. All right, so the circle's open. You can start with whoever would like to begin.
She knew some people were masters and some were slaves. That was the way it had always been. But her own experience had taught her to hate slavery. She had even found it difficult to be a good wife in her most recent years because of the way a woman must bow her head and be subject to her husband. It was better to be as she was, a priestess who spoke with the voice of a god and was feared and obeyed. She had become a kind of master herself.
He was already an animal, but she had formed the habit of submission. In her love for Isaac and for her children, and in her fear of death, especially of the kind of death Doro would inflict, she had given in to him again and again. Habits were difficult to break, the habit of living, the habit of fear, even the habit of love.
My part that I would like to read has to do it's in the very beginning, and I really didn't read the whole book yet, but I like this part. Wait a minute. Oh man, I just had it. Oh my God. Somebody else go. I don't know how it was. Okay. Somebody else go and I'll come back on. Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay. He discovered he would not have to steal food while she was with him. Once the 2 yams were roasted and eaten, she found food everywhere. Each day as they traveled, she filled her basket with fruits, nuts, or roots, whatever she could find that was edible. She threw stones with the speed and force of a sling and brought down birds and small animals. At day's end, there was always a meal, a beautiful meal. She was bad. She took care of him. I like that part.
The ship frightened Anyanwu, but it frightened Okoye more. He had seen that the men aboard were mostly white men, and in his life, he had had no good experiences with white men. Also, fellow slaves had told him the whites were cannibals. We will be taken to their land and fattened and eaten, he told Anyanwu. No, Anyanwu assured him, it is not their custom to eat men. And if it were, our master would not permit us to be eaten. He is a powerful man. Okoye shuddered. He is not a man.
He did not command her any longer. She was no longer one of his breeders, nor even one of his people in the old propriety way. He could ask for cooperation, he helped her, but he could no longer coerce her into giving it. There would be no more threats to her children.
We are all witches in the eyes of ordinary people.
There came a time when Doro said land is near, a time when the strange food was rotten and full of worms, and the drinking water stank, and the ships stank, and the slaves fought among themselves, and the crewmen fished desperately to vary their disgusting diet, and the sun's heat intensified, and the wind did not blow. In the midst of all this discomfort, there were events that Anyanwu would recall with pleasure for the rest of her life. This was when she came to understand clearly just what Isaac's special ability was, and he came to understand her own.
But Anyanwu, wild seed that she was, did not know yet. He would have to teach her, instruct her quickly, and begin using her at once. He wanted as many children as he could get from her before it became necessary to kill her. Wild seed always had to be destroyed eventually. It could never conform as children born among his people conformed. But like no other wild seed, Anyanwu would learn to fear him and bend herself to his will. He would use her for breeding and healing. He would use her children, present and future, to create more acceptable, long-lived types.
Healer that she was, creator of medicine and poisons, binder of broken bones, comforter, could she take the remnants here and build them into a man again? Doro looked at people, healthy or ill, and wondered what kind of young they could produce. Anyanwu looked at the sick, especially those with problems she had not seen before, and wondered whether she could defeat their disease.
Thank you for these things, she said softly in English. They make you even more beautiful, he told her. I'm like a prisoner, all bound. You'll get used to it. Now you can be a real lady. Anyanwu turned that over in her mind. Real lady, she said, frowning. What was I before? Isaac's face went red. I mean, you look like a New York lady. His embarrassment told her that he had said something wrong, something insulting. She had thought she was misunderstanding his English. Now she realized she had understood all too well. Tell me what I was before, Isaac, she insisted, and tell me the word you used before, civilization. What is civilization?
Civilization is the way one's own people live. Savagery is the way foreigners live.
You were with them the whole time? The whole time, through everything. She was crying silently, not sobbing, only staring straight ahead as tears ran down her face. Her nails dug themselves into her palms. I don't understand how I can be alive after all that. None of it happened to you. All of it happened to me, every bit of it.
I am content here, Doro. I've already had 10 husbands to tell me what to do. Why should I make you the 11th? Because you will kill me if I refuse? Is that how men get wives in your homeland? By threatening murder? Huh. Well, perhaps you cannot kill me. Perhaps we should find out.
Tomorrow, she said, you will tell Isaac how to help me, and I will swim with the fish. I will be a fish. I can do it now. I have wanted to for so long.
She could remember being bullied as a female animal, being pursued by pressurant males, but only in her true woman shape could she remember being seriously hurt by males, men. It was only an accident that made her a female dolphin. She had eaten the flesh of a female, but it was a fortunate accident.
In my years, I have seen that people must be their own gods and make their own good fortune. The bad will come or not come anyway.
Yes, here a woman takes the name of her husband after marriage. I was Sarah Wheatley before I married. Then Sarah is the name you keep for yourself? Yes. Your country must be overflowing with people of the same name, but many have other names as well. I suppose Anyuau really is better. Yes, Anyuanu smiled. Sarah is good too. A woman should have something of her own.
Why did she marry you? Because I believed her when she told me that she could do. Because I was not afraid or ridiculous. And because after a while, we started to want each other. Even though she knew you were a woman and black, even so, Anyanwu stared up at the solemn young woman, remembering that lovely, fearful courting. They had been as fearful of marrying as they had been of losing each other. She thought at first that there could be no children, and that saddened her because she had always wanted children. Then she realized that I could give her girls. It took her a long time to understand all that I could do, but she thought the children would be black, and people would say she had been with a slave. White men leave brown children all about, but a white woman who does this becomes almost an animal in the eyes of other whites. White women must be protected, Dora said, whether they want to be or not, as property is protected. And Yamu shook her head.
She had avoided animal matings in the past. She was a woman. Intercourse with an animal was an abomination. She would feel unclean reverting to her human form with the seed of an animal inside of her. But now it was as though the dolphins were not animals.
Was descended from people whose abnormally long lives, resistance to disease, and budding special abilities made them very important to him.
Okay. Are we complete? I will say that one of the overriding comments that we got in the survey was that people loved this, and that in particular, KL then put in, they loved your reading. So if you feel like gracing us with a last excerpt to close us out, that would be amazing.
I'd love to. How wonderful, thank you. I'll just pick up where I left off. Anyanwu stared at him. How had he discovered Doro's strangeness so quickly? It was he who bought me, then sold me to the whites. I remember him, he beaten me. It is the same face, the same skin, but something different is living inside, some spirit. Okoye. Anyanwu spoke very softly and waited until he turned from his terrified gazing into space and looked at her. If Doro is a spirit, she said, then he has done you a service. He has killed your enemy for you. Is that reason to fear him? You fear him yourself. I have seen it in your eyes. Anyanwu gave him a sad smile. Not as much as I should, perhaps. He is a spirit. You know I am your mother's kinsman, Okoye. He stared at her for a time without answering. Finally, he asked, have her people also been enslaved? Not when I last saw them. Then how were you taken?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for that. That is the sound circle. We are in the twilight of our time together, and there are a few announcements. I'm happy to go ahead with them. I can't see you, Tati, but is that okay if I go ahead with some of the announcements?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first is, please do complete the survey. This is the first Octavia E. Butler slow read that the three of us have ever done, maybe in the world, who knows? But every time we do this, we try to shape it based on what you have told us you like, don't like. And so please do participate in the survey. You will get an email after today inviting you to participate. Just to flag a few things on the survey, you will be asked if you would like to be a part of the team and volunteer. And there will also be links to other ways that you can connect. I anticipate that people are going to ask how they can get access to Bee's artwork and the songs. So we will talk to Bee and see what we can do, because I know for me, I never want to stop listening to it, but that's just me. So I'm sure I'm not alone here. Please fill out the feedback form that you'll get. Also, our next book is the next book in the Patternist series, Mind of My Mind. And the synopsis is on the screen. For 4,000 years, an immortal has spread the seeds of a master race, using the downtrodden as his private breeding stock. But now a young ghetto telepath has found a way to awaken and rule her superhuman kind, igniting a psychic battle as she challenges her creator for her right to free her people. That is Mind of My Mind. The live book chat is going to be January 31st, 2021. So please, registration is open right now. And following your feedback, there are free tickets. There are also tickets that allow you to provide a contribution of $5 or $10 if you would like to support the costs that go into putting this on. So that is what's happening on January 31st. That's going to be our next book. Also, I hosted a slow reading series on my channel Onyx Pages YouTube. So a bunch of us got together and read together on air, silently, but on camera, you know what I mean, a bunch of times in October and September. I will be doing that again. We'll be sending out the slow read schedule and also the link to the videos over Eventbrite. So if you would like to tune in and if you want to read Mind of My Mind together with me and others, that's our schedule, and you'll be able to do so. And I want to also big up Isis. Oh, hold on. You don't need to see all that. Where is your, there it is. Can you see the video? Yes, okay. So.
Hi, I'm Isis Asari, and I just wanted to take a second to introduce you to Sister Sci-Fi, your new favorite book boutique. We focus on science fiction written by Black women. In addition to selling books, we also host a lot of online and in-person events, book clubs, watch parties, you name it. It's a Black queer-owned company. It's owned by myself, so it makes us super proud to highlight writers who look like us, who have the same passion, missions, and goals. We're excited to have you be a part of the community.
So as you probably already know, Isis is amazing. And so we encourage you to purchase whatever books you're reading for the read along with us.
It's been quite a long time.
Sorry.
I've started many of these and just never finished them, or I never.
Oh, good. Okay, share screen. Keep it together, and Jerry, you got
You're
this.
good. You're good.
Don't stretch. There we go. Lord. Okay. All right. What was that? Oh, my business is in the streets. Okay. Yeah. Isis, do you want to talk about this one?
Yes. Thank you for showing that. It's embarrassing to see myself on camera. Anyway, so we have, based off of survey feedback, set up the officially unofficial Octavia E. Butler slow read happy hour lounge room. It's happening via Zoom. Links are in the chat. Are links in the chat? Okay.
We'll put them in.
Yeah, links are in the chat. And as soon as I'm off of this Zoom, I'll hop over to the other Zoom, and that will be open. It's unmoderated, so we're trusting you to continue to discuss and align with the agreements that we set up earlier, but it's an informal for other people who love Octavia E. Butler and Afrofuturism and sci-fi that's empowering to Black people, people of color, and queer people to connect and converse and, hang out. Am I missing anything? I think that's everything.
You're good. You're good. So we encourage you to keep in touch. The best way to do that is by registering over Eventbrite. You can register for almost all of the slow reads into 2022 right now. Tati and I are YouTube content creators, so we would appreciate it if you like our content to subscribe to our channels. We read and review lots of books, but we both have a love for Black science fiction and fantasy. You can follow us on Twitter and also on Instagram, so please do keep in touch. All right, I am gonna stop sharing now. That brings us to the end of our scheduled thing. Does anybody want to share anything before we wrap up? I think some people are asking about what the after thing is. So folks were talking about wanting a place that they could just chat that wasn't scheduled or scripted. So if you want to meet with other people, you can go over to that other Zoom space and just connect. So that's what that's about. And for those of you who are in the YouTube chat, thanks very much for joining. I think we're good. I think we're good to wrap up. Tati and Isis, have I missed anything?
Hold on, you have the echo. I am copying the ID and passcode for the meeting to put that in the chat.
Perfect. I was doing the same thing.
Good night, everybody. Y'all were great.
Good night. Thank you all so much for coming and joining in the conversation with us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Can we leave?
Thanks, everyone.
To give people time.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you so very much. This was truly an honor and a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
One
What
love.
were you making? What were you making?
Oh, I was making a what do we call it? A pomegranate salad.
Mm.
Yeah, I've got to feed family and then go back to power grading, and so
Oh,
I
right.
didn't want to miss this event. And I just dance in your honor. Thank you for putting Octavia out in the street.
Yes. Thank you for being a part of it.
Absolutely.
We'll
I'll see you for Mind My Mind.
Yes.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See here. How do I? Oh, there we go.
All right, for everybody in YouTube, we are going to stop our live feed. So thank you very much for participating. If you haven't registered, then you will not get a link to the survey. So you can hop on to the Eventbrite and find it and register so that you can give us your feedback. So thanks very much. Have a great night. And Tati, Isis, we're gonna stay on just to do a quick debrief if that's